am Therese Maletti. I'm with Centerville City Schools. Today I'm going to be doing a demonstration of a pre-trip. The pre-trip will be done on a 2020 Bluebird rear engine transit, and this is what you will need to do to pass the pre-trip portion for your CDL exam, Class B. Okay, we'll have 30 minutes to complete it, and I'm going to start at the front of the bus. These are my amber clearance lights, my amber warning lights, my red loading lights, my amber side markers, my amber turn signals and hazards, my clear headlamps, high and low beam. They are all the proper color. They're not cracked or broken, loose or missing. I'm going to take a look at my bus. It's not leaning to the left or to the right. I can see that there are no obstructions and there's no puddles of any kind. This is my windshield washer fluid container. The cap is in place, the hoses are connected, nothing is kinked or leaking. I'm going to take a look at my mirror brackets. They're bolted and mounted securely, not cracked or broken, loose or missing. The mirrors themselves are clean and clear. All four. Okay. This is my circuit breaker box. There are no additional fuses. I have my clearance lights that are amber before the duals and red after the duals. I have my turn signals and hazard lights. They are amber, and you'll see later that they're functioning properly. This is my state sticker. It is up to date. My stop arm is bolted and mounted securely. The reflectors are in place, and you'll see later that it's functioning properly. I've got my reflective tape and reflectors. The reflectors are amber before the duals and red after. Okay. We're going to start with the tire. I've got my front steer tires have 4 30-seconds tread, evenly worn all the way across. The face of my tire, inside and out, have no abrasions, bulges, or cuts. The rim has no welds other than factory. It's not cracked or broken, loose, or missing. The valve stem is straight, centered, has a metal cap, and if I were to check the tire pressure, I would use a tire pressure gauge. All of my lug nuts are in place and tight. If one was loose, I might see a rust trail or a shiny pattern. This is my hub oil seal. It's bolted and mounted securely, not cracked or broken, loose or missing, and it is not leaking. If it was leaking, we might see a spray pattern. The level of fluid on the inside is adequate. Okay. We also have my mud flap, bolted and mounted securely, not cracked or broken, loose or missing. I'm going to come inside of here and we're going to take a look at our gearbox. Our gearbox is bolted and mounted securely, not cracked or broken, loose or missing, and it's not leaking. This is our pitman arm, our drag link. They are bolted and mounted securely, not cracked or broken, loose or missing. They are in place with the cotter pin and the castle nut. All of the hoses are connected to the gearbox. They are not kinked or leaking. I've got my front and rear spring mount. They are bolted and mounted securely, not cracked or broken, loose or missing. They're in place with the bolt bushings. I've got my torque leaf and my spring leaf. They're not shifted, cracked or broken, loose or missing. I've got my U-bolt. It's bolted and mounted securely, not cracked or broken, loose or missing. I have the tie rod. Tie rod is right there. It's not cracked or broken, loose or missing. Okay, we're going to take a look at our brake chamber. Our brake chamber is clamped securely, not cracked or broken, loose or missing. My push rod and slack adjuster are not cracked or broken, loose or missing. If I were to tug on them, they would not move more than 1 inch. I've got my ABS line and my brake line. They are not cracked or broken, loose or missing. They're not kinked or leaking. If I were to look inside of the dust cover, I would see that my brake linings were not worn dangerously thin, and the brake drums have no grease, oil, holes, or debris. Okay. Here is my frame and cross members. Frame and cross members are bolted and mounted securely, not cracked or broken, loose or missing. I have my shock absorber, bolted top and bottom, not cracked or broken, loose or missing, and it's not leaking. Okay, moving on down the side. This is my emergency door. When I open it, the lights come on, the buzzer sounds, the seal is in place. It is secure, it's not loose, it's not broken, it's not damaged. It locks into place, and when I shut it down, all the lights go off and the buzzer stops. We're going to take a look at my buddy wheels, the dualies. They are evenly spaced but have no spacer. The tread depth is 2/32, evenly worn all the way across. The face of the tire, inside and out, have no abrasions, bulges, or cuts. The rim of the tire has no welds other than factory. It's bolted and mounted securely, not cracked or broken, loose or missing. The lug nuts are bolted securely. All of them are in place and tight. They're not cracked or broken, loose or missing. If one was loose, we might see a rust trail or a shiny pattern. This is our axle seal. The axle seal is bolted and mounted securely, not cracked or broken, loose or missing. If it was leaking, we might see a spray pattern. These are our valve stems. The valve stems, inner and outer, are in place. They're straight, centered, have a metal cap, and if I were to check the tire pressure, I would use a tire pressure gauge. This is my mud flap. It's bolted and mounted securely, not cracked or broken, loose or missing. Okay, we're going to take a look now at our front and rear spring mounts. Front and rear spring mounts are bolted and mounted securely, not cracked or broken, loose or missing. They're in place with the bolt bushings. This is my torque leaf and my spring leaf. They're not shifted, cracked or broken, loose or missing. Okay, we're going to now take a look at our shock absorber. Our shock absorber is bolted top and bottom, not cracked or broken, loose or missing, and it's not leaking. This is our air bladder. Air bladder has got top and bottom air mounts. The air bladder itself is not leaking. The air mounts are bolted and mounted securely, not cracked or broken, loose or missing, and the bladder itself is not leaking. Okay. We'll get some more things on the other side that are easier to see. And here we're going to take a look at our exhaust system. This is our exhaust system. It's bolted and mounted securely, not cracked or broken, loose or missing, and it's not leaking. If it was leaking, we might see a soot pattern, or if we had the bus running, we would check for excessive noise. Okay. Here's our red reflector in the back. Just in the back. Okay, we're going to start up here. We've got our red clearance lights, our amber warning lights, our red loading lights, our amber turn signals and hazards, our red brake lights, our red tail lights, our clear backup lights. They are all the proper color, not cracked or broken, loose or missing. Reflective tape, reflectors are all in place, not cracked or broken, loose or missing. We're going to take a look inside now. Our engine compartment. Okay, we're going to start with our alternator. Our alternator is belt driven, not cracked or broken, loose or missing. All the copper wiring is in place, not frayed or damaged. We're going to take a look at our serpentine belt. It's not twisted or frayed, and if I were to push on it, it will not deflect more than a ½ inch. This is our water pump. Our water pump is belt driven. It's not cracked or broken, loose or missing, bolted and mounted securely. It's not leaking. Okay. Now we're going to take a look at our power steering reservoir. Power steering reservoir is bolted and mounted securely, not cracked or broken, loose or missing. To check the level, we can look at the container itself, see that it's between add and full, or if you couldn't see through the container, you can check the dipstick. Pull it out, wipe it off, reinsert it, pull it out again, it will read between add and full. Same with our oil dipstick. We would wipe it out, reinsert it. After we wipe it off and reinsert it again, it will come out between add and full. Now we're going to take a look at our power steering pump. If we follow these lines down, it leads to the power steering pump, which is right here. Power steering pump is gear driven. It's not cracked or broken, loose or missing, and it's not leaking. All the connection hoses are connected, not kinked or leaking. We're going to take a look at our air compressor. Our air compressor is bolted and mounted securely, not cracked or broken, loose or missing, it's not leaking, and it's gear driven. We're going to take a look now at our coolant reservoir. Our coolant reservoir is bolted and mounted securely, not cracked or broken, loose or missing. It has adequate fluid in it. As you can see through the container, it is reading between add and full. It's definitely going to need some coolant soon. All of the hoses are connected properly. They're not kinked or leaking. Okay. All right, we're going to move on. There's no obstructions under the bus. There's no puddles, leaks of any kind. No coolant, no power steering fluid, no oil. It's all good. Okay, we're going to take a look now. Nope, it's the wrong one. At our battery box. Battery box, 3 batteries. They're all connected. The tray and pin are in place. There's no excessive corrosion. Working properly. I would check the brake, suspension, and wheels over here, but we do need to, we can see some things better over here. So I'm going to show you some items over here that we can't really see that well on the other side. So here's our brake chamber. Brake chamber is bolted and mounted securely, not cracked or broken, loose or missing. The ABS line and brake line, ABS is small and the brake line is bigger. They're not kinked, they're not leaking, they're attached securely. They're not cracked or broken, loose or missing. Neither one is leaking. We also have our U-bolts. Our U-bolts are in place, not cracked or broken, loose or missing. This is our front and rear spring mounts. They're bolted and mounted securely, not cracked or broken, loose or missing. It's our torque leaf, our spring leaf. They're in place with the bolt bushing. Let's see. We also have our push rod and our slack adjuster. They're harder to see back here, but they are back here. The push rod and slack adjuster are not cracked or broken, loose or missing. If I were to pull on it, it would not move more than an inch. We also have our U-bolts. Our U-bolts are bolted and mounted securely. They're harder to see, not cracked or broken, loose or missing, and they're both not damaged. We have our brake linings and our brake drums. If you look across, you can see the brake linings. And if we were to go beyond the brake linings, we would see the brake drums. They have no grease, oil, holes, dents, or debris. We also have our torsion bar back here. It's very difficult to see, but it's up to here. Not cracked or broken, loose or missing. Appears to be functioning normally. And there's a really good view of our frame and cross members. Okay. And of course, it's evenly spaced, but there's nothing between our duals either. Okay. Here's our depth tank. Our depth tank. The cap and neck are in place and tight. Nothing's leaking here, and as we looked underneath, nothing's leaking with the cage or the tank itself. We're going to continue on to our diesel fuel tank. The cap is on tight, the neck is good, there's no leaking in here, and as we look underneath, the cage is in place, the tank is in place, it's not leaking, it's bolted and mounted securely. Our service door. Our service door is in place, it's bolted and mounted securely, not cracked or broken, loose or missing. The glass is in place and not broken. All of our windows are in place, not cracked, broken. There's no damage or obstructions. Our step lights in and out are bolted and mounted securely. They're clear in color, not cracked or broken, loose or missing. Our handrails are both bolted and mounted securely, not cracked or broken, loose or missing. The step tread is free from a tripping hazard. It's not lifted. Okay. We're going to come inside the bus. We're going to take a look at our emergency equipment. We have our body fluid cleanup kit. It's fully stocked. We have our 3 reflective triangles. We have our first fire extinguisher. It's rated, dated, and charged. It's in the green, so we know it's fully charged. We have our first aid kit, which is 24 dry box bandages, proof of insurance, and 3 emergency contacts. This bus has no fusees. Okay. All right, we're going to take a look at our windshield. Our windshield is free of stickers and decals. Not cracked or broken, loose or missing. We have our student mirror and our visor. They are both bolted and mounted securely, not cracked or broken, loose or missing. I can see all the way to the back and the top of the first seat in the student mirror. All of my mirrors are adjusted for me. Now I'm going to do a safe start. I'm going to put my seatbelt on and it latches properly. With my foot covering the brake, the gear shift in neutral, and the parking brake set. That is my safe start. My ABS light will go on and promptly go out. There's it did. Okay, I'm going to turn on my headlamps so all of my gauges light up. I have my speedometer, my tachometer, my odometer. My voltmeter will sit between 12 and 14. The temperature gauge will raise to about 190. I have my other temperature gauge. It's going to sit right around the same, about 190. I have my front and rear air tanks. They're going to sit between 120 and 125. When it gets to about 125, you're going to hear the governor cut off and it'll make a psh noise. I'll point it out when that happens. I also have my DEF. My DEF is adequate level of fluid. My fuel is adequate for this trip. My oil will sit between 40 and 60. And there we go. There's my horn. My indicators. My left indicator. My right indicator. My hazard lights. My high beam indicator. My windshield wipers and wash fluid. Okay. All of my gears function properly. When I was in reverse, you could hear the backup noise. My fans, heaters, and defrosters high, low, and off. My service door functions properly, and the light, step light, comes on. This is my warning light indicator right here. This is my override indicator right here. It also brings on the stop arm out. So that was the governor cutoff that you heard just there. But the stop arm is out. It's functioning properly. Okay. I've got a few more over here. We've got fans, high, low, and off. But first I'm going to show you my noise suspension button, and we'll turn that off. I've got my passenger dome light and my driver dome light. Both of those are functioning properly. Okay. My strobe light I will put on, and I'll show you momentarily that it's working. My defrosters, high, low, and off, and these are where I can direct the heat. Okay. Now I'm going to do a series of brake tests. The first brake test that I'm going to do, I'm going to put my bus into gear, and with the parking brake still engaged, I'm going to show you that the parking brake is holding. I will push on the accelerator, and we're not moving, so I know the parking brake is holding. Now we're going to release the parking brake and check the service brake. I'm going to release the service brake, drive forward just a little bit. I'll push on the service brake. I'm not moving to the left, I'm not pulling to the right, and I'm stopping smoothly. Now I'm going to push this back into neutral. Parking brake needs to remain off, and the bus goes off. But I'm going to put it back in accessory so all of my gauges function. I will have at least 100 pounds of pressure to do this. With no pressure on the service brake, I'm going to see that my tanks, my air tanks, will not move more than 2 psi in a minute. At this time, you'll ask your tester if they want to time that. If they want to time that, they can time it for up to 1 minute. Okay? Now, after After they tell you to move on, press in the service brake. After the initial drop, the air tanks will not lose more than 3 psi in a minute. Once again, you'll ask your tester if they want to time that. When they say move on, continue fanning the brakes. Above 55, a light and buzzer will come on, just like it did. And between 20 and 40, the parking brake will set itself. So keep fanning it until the parking brake sets itself. Okay? And it did, so we know all of our emergency features are functioning properly. Now I'm going to start the bus back up again. I already know that it was in neutral and the parking brake was set. I'll set my high idle so that pressure builds a little bit faster. And I'll show you the inside of the cabin. My driver's seat is bolted and mounted securely to the floor. It's not cracked or broken, loose or missing. All of my seats are bolted and mounted securely. The frames are bolted securely to the floor, and the cushions are bolted securely to the frames. And I would do that by checking each of them and lifting up. For this demonstration, I'm just going to do the one, but know that you would have to do them all, okay? I'm going to stop at my emergency window. I'm going to open it. Lights and buzzer sounds. When I shut it down, the lights go off, the buzzer stops. I would check all the other emergency windows the same way I checked this one. I'm now going to check my emergency door to see that it works easily from the inside. Lights come on, buzzer sounds, opens freely. I'm going to check my emergency roof hatch in back. Lights come on, buzzer sounds. And you can see that the strobe light is flashing. I would check the other roof hatch the same way I checked this one. Now I'm going to show you my emergency exit in back. Lights come on, the buzzer sounds, opens freely, shuts off when I close it. I'm going to check the seat backs on the way up to make sure they're bolted and mounted securely to the frames. Okay, once we've checked our seats, I'm going to have Kathy go out and check all of my lights. To do this, I'm going to have, the tester will have you, at least in Ohio, they will have you open your window, shut the bus off, and point and say what you're testing. When your tester gets off, make sure you close your door so all of your lights function properly. Okay. All right. I don't know if you saw my hazard lights in the back. Okay, All right, Kathy's getting back on the bus, and I'm going to think a moment, see if I remembered everything that I needed to do. I think I'm done. Had this been an actual exam in the state of Ohio, the tester would have come back and told me what I may have missed. There were 2 items that I missed during this demonstration, and I want to show you what they are. The first one that I'm going to point out, or of the 2, is the drive shaft. And I do want to let you know where that drive shaft is. It's right here. This is the drive shaft. You want to make sure it's not cracked or broken, loose or missing, it's bolted and mounted securely, that it's in between the U-hangers and it's not hanging on the hanger itself. Okay, so that was the first item. The second item that I pointed out, but I did not actually have function, was when I was pointing out all of my lights. Because my headlights weren't on when Kathy was coming up the right side of the bus, the lights were not actually functioning. So my step lights I would not have gotten credit for.